Hello, and welcome to the Daring to Succeed podcast. I'm your host, Julianna Yao-Yorgen, and today I'm joined by Everett O'Keefe, a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and international #1 bestselling author. The Power of Publish is his most recent solo work. He has also helped create and launch more than 200 best-selling books for his clients. He is the founder of Ignite Press, a hybrid publishing company that specializes in helping entrepreneurs, as well as business and medical professionals, ignite their business by becoming best-selling authors. Welcome to the podcast, Everett.
Hey there, Juliana. Thank you for having me here. This is so cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into this because, and I didn't want to give this away when we were chatting beforehand, but I actually aspired to be a published author when I was younger. And
Fantastic, man. And have you done that yet?
I actually did. I think even before I got into university, I got published into a poetry anthology and I contributed an article to like a reference book. But
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me though was that initial like rush of seeing my name in print was a lot of fun, but then that vanished pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it really,
it is one of those things that you have to follow up. Like
Mhm.
we joke around with our clients that we're allergic to secret agent authors. And because a lot of times what an author will do is they'll work so hard on their book and then they get it out, but we're such shiny object people that we then go on to the next thing instead of putting that book in front of everybody we know. And it should be part of our email signatures and our bios. And it should be, front and center on the website and all of those things. So, but you are not alone in if you didn't leverage that. But it's cool that you did also the academic thing, because that's a whole nother animal. That's great.
Yeah, it was a fun experience, and it really makes me think about like why that shiny object kind of lost its luster so quickly. And I think it's to something that you were talking about in The Power of Published, about how you start your process with clients with the end in mind. And I don't think I had that.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's super super common, right? Because people just get an idea, this would make a good book or this would make a good story or whatever, and they just start, which is great. Like a lot of really great stuff has begun that way. But when it comes to a nonfiction book that you're writing for the purpose of your brand, for your business, in order to help succeed, having that end in mind is important. How will you use this? What action do you want the reader to take after they read it? What kind of reader do you want to have? Those are all important decisions that that are going to really impact the result and your satisfaction with that result.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really liked how you talked about the different ways that you could put together a book, and especially like a nonfiction business book,
Mm-hmm.
with that end in mind. And how do I want to say this? Like the different methods that you use were really interesting. Like the FAQ one I thought was really cool, and like pulling together experts. It's just, I loved how there was so much variety that you could choose from that I never even thought of. I've just been pitched a lot in the last year or so of these like collaborative books where you go out and market them together. But the few people I know who've done that seem to have mixed results with like when they actually get the book published out there.
Yeah, no, that's interesting too, because that's another method that you're describing. And so for the benefit of listeners, we run really quickly through some of those things. There's so many different ways to create a book for your business or brand. And the first point to recognize is that a lot of people get hung up thinking that they need to create a masterpiece, life legacy. And so they'll get hung up because that's just too much pressure. when really what they probably need is a really effective marketing tool for their business. In fact, what will probably be the most effective marketing tool for their business or brand. And so I talk about sometimes what you really want to write is a book, not the book, if that makes any sense. And that takes a lot of pressure off of people. And once they realize that, they go, okay, if I'm going to write an effective marketing piece for my business, how will I do that? And that FAQ model you described is a great one. For the listeners, that is simply take 5 minutes, write down the frequently asked questions about your business. What are the questions you are being asked for all the time? Because these are the things that A, people want to know, and B, you can rattle them off at the top of your head. And write down a list of 10 or 20 of those. Grab your phone, go to the voice recording app, and just record the answers to those. Just record them for 5 or 10 minutes each one. You already have that information in your head. You have that transcribed, or do it into an auto dictation thing where it transcribes already. And boom, you have the core content for your book. And my first book, honestly, my first bestseller, I'm ashamed to say, but I dictated it in 2 hours. And that wasn't all the work that had to be done by any means, but you can very quickly create that FAQ. And then, of course, also there's these books, most people already have the content for their book on their hard drive somewhere. It may be a collection of blogs that you've already posted. It could be a keynote that you've delivered. It could be training videos that you've done. You probably already have a book. It just needs to be repurposed from your existing content. And that's just a couple quick ways to write a book. Of course, the more organic way also works. But I just want everyone to know they don't have to sequester themselves for 6 months on Walden Pond in order to write a manuscript. No business person has the time to do that. It can be done. It can be done effectively, quickly, and in chunks, and become the most powerful tool you've ever created.
Yeah, and I actually think it's kind of cool that you wrote the first draft of your book just dictating it in 2 hours, because it's a good example of your ideas in practice and taking that pressure off of someone who really wants to put a book out there and is worried that they're going to have to sequester themselves for half a year just to get something out there, because that's sort of the romantic view a lot of us have about writing a book.
Yeah, that's right, and it's played out in some movies. Like, you got to rent this beautiful apartment or villa looking over the coast, whether it's the Pacific or the Mediterranean, and right, but none of us have time to do that. My second book, the Power of the Published, I wrote that in the evenings, and I wrote it in 1 and 2 hour chunks, and and you can do that quickly over a space of a few months without it being really a huge interference in your life. And the impact, the impact is just off the scale, because books are special. Books impart authority. They impart expert status, unlike just about anything. And they outlive you. It's the one thing you might create for your business that's going to actually outlive you or the business. And when someone gets a book from you, whether you give it to them or they buy it, they never throw it away. It hangs out. It is there as a constant reminder of your expertise. And when they need that expertise, they know where to go, because they've been staring at your book on their for 6 months or 6 years, and it really is incredible what it can do.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there was a quote from The Power of the Published that I really want to read out for our listeners, because when I read it, it really solidified for me why there is such longevity with the book. what you said was old guard marketers will say that a person must have 5 to 12 encounters with a product before they will buy, and that their ads provide these repeated encounters. And when I think back to when I was reading your book, you probably spent at least 3 lunches with me and an entire afternoon.
That is, boy, that was I've never had anyone put it that way, Juliana. Yeah, many people will remember the study that was done out of Harvard Business School or whatever that came up with that 5 to 12 exposures, that people need 5 to 12 exposures with a product before they'll be ready to buy. And the book is every one of those, right? Right? The because the book is such an unusual thing, because through a book you get to spend hours with your prospect or your client, time you would never get to spend with them one-on-one elsewhere. They don't have time, you don't have time. But they will take you to bed with them, metaphorically speaking. They will take you on vacations with them, on airplanes. They might take you to the bathroom with them, toilet. But they're going to read your book, and they're going to hear from you and hear your wisdom in their most vulnerable moments, the times when their defenses are not down, and they're not distracted by other advertisements. And you're whispering into their head, right? As you read in the book, like the book is this silent whisperer while they're reading it, is continually whispering in their head about your expertise and your wisdom. And I just don't know any other medium that accomplishes that.
Yeah, and like it says, like you say, sorry, it outlives you too. And I really love that, especially for entrepreneurs who are doing things solo or with really, really small teams. It's such a unique way to duplicate yourself that has, I think, again, a bit of a romantic feel compared to even our podcast or a blog post or something. There's just something else there, whether it's like the tactileness of lugging around the book, or even I read all of mine on like a digital e-reader, but I still have that thing that I'm like grasping onto for the hours that I'm spending with that book.
Yeah, it really, really amazing. And um, I've had clients that another benefit is books will pre-educate your clients to make them better clients. They're spending this time with you. They're learning about your philosophies, and so when you come to recommend something, they're already predisposed to it. I've had people go, "Oh yeah, I read that in your book. Yeah, I totally want to do that." And what's funny, the downside of that, though, is if you have told stories in your book and they're your favorite stories to tell clients, well, they already heard it. They've read it in your book. So you got to come up with more stories,
Yeah, but I think that is one of the elements of having your own business book as a marketing tool that so many of us aren't really aware of. I certainly was until I read it in your book, that there is a level of um, preconditioning your potential clients. You could have whispered to them for hours 3 years before they even reach out to you, and without
Mhm.
having to do anything extra because you've already put the book out there.
Right. It's out there working, and people are always looking for, how do you go from one to many, right? How do you take your communications from one to many? And of course, a podcast is a fantastic way to do that. But a book is another way to multiply yourself so you can be in multiple places at one time. You could be talking to multiple prospects at the same time. You can be educating your clients, and it is a fantastic benefit. And then, of course, I mean, a lot of our clients come because it's the authority. They know that if they publish a book, they will be regarded as an expert, and that will help them get on stages for speaking opportunities, give them access to higher level clients. get them into the conversation instead of being held outside of the conversation. I had this client, we call her Cindy because we names have been changed to protect the innocent. But Cindy came to me and she said, "Hey, I'm going to be speaking at this medical tourism conference in Dubai in like 2 months. And I've been writing this book. Can you help me publish it?" So she just wanted to take like 5 books with her. And we managed to work it out. And she got on the airplane with 5 books. And when she got to the conference, she found that people that she wanted to have that book, she gave them copies. That night, she was walking around, and she saw in the lobby was one of these people, and sure enough, they're sitting there reading her book. And she's like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like, yeah, it's a great experience as an author, right? When you see someone reading your book, even if you gave it to them, it's still a great experience. Anyhow, the next day, one of those people came up to her and said, "Yeah, I read your book last night in the hotel room. I want to talk about hiring you." And now keep in mind, she went to this conference as an attendee. And she left the conference with 3 clients as a result, she says, as a result of the book.
Wow.
And one of those clients invited her to write in an academic textbook on the topic, which placed her now in the realm of intelligentsia in her field, which is huge. And then another client sponsored her to come back and speak at that very same conference the following year. And so she really went from, she really got onto the international stage as a result of that book. And that's what books can do. I mean, I've got countless stories like that. And that's why we do this, right? Because I love doing it because I get to help share people's messages out to the world, and help them carry them in a way where traditional publishing just wouldn't. And that benefits a lot of people, helps them get their wisdom out, their message out, and build their business at the same time.
Yeah, that's such an amazing story. And it kind of makes me think of back when people would exchange business cards all the time and then they get crumpled up and lost and forgotten. But that book has, as we've said a couple times here today already, it's got that lasting power and that visibility. And it must have been really amazing for her to see how those 5 copies did so much for her at one conference.
Yeah, just incredible. And I think maybe it's just harder to crumple up a book. They don't crumple. They don't crumple easily.
Yes. So, for our listeners who might be super excited about the potential that they can get with business growth and exposure with a book, maybe could you talk a little bit about the different ways you can get published, like through the traditional route, self-publishing, and I know Ignite is more of a hybrid publishing model. Could you talk to us a little bit about how that all works?
Yeah, absolutely. Traditional publishing is great. It serves a purpose, but it's incredibly difficult to crack into. You need to have 25,000 plus followers to get in because they just don't want to take any chances. They don't want to roll the dice on you. It's very hard to get in, but even if you do get in, you may not want to get in because first, the day of big advances has gone. Many authors get little or no advance. And then what's happening is you're selling your intellectual property to that publisher. And you'll be limited as to how you use that intellectual property going forward. Plus, you get paid too little when your book sells. You pay too much to buy your own book. And then speed of market is so tough. I've been hearing over and over that anywhere from 18 months to 3 years is common for the time to go from the publisher accepting it to the publisher launching it.
Wow.
And for the business people, right? Like Julianna, that's an eternity, right?
Yeah.
You're like, how could you wait 3 years for your best business tool to actually come to life, just brutal. So now self-publishing, I'm a huge fan of self-publishing because you have complete creative control. You own your IP. You get your books at cost, all royalties flow to you, etc. But you also have to do everything or learn how to do everything. And if you do any one thing wrong, then the whole project can be a disappointment. Whether that's a poorly laid out book or a poorly written book or a poorly edited book or a bad cover or poorly placed in the market, whatever. It can be a real disappointment. Now, hybrid publishing sits in between, and I like to think of hybrid publishing as the best of both worlds. And there are different types of hybrid publishers. So there are some that are really more similar to traditional, and we are closer to self-publishing because what we do is we provide the copy editing, professional copy editing, project management, layout, cover design, the publication. So the book's on all the major, it's on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, et cetera, et cetera. But the author doesn't have to, learn how to do all those things. We are doing those things on a very professional level. And then we publish the book and do an Amazon bestseller launch. We've created now over 200 Amazon bestselling authors, number one bestselling authors. And that's so we love to do that for our clients so that they can leverage their book and that accomplishment going forward. That's what gets said when they're introduced on stage. It's part of their bio, their LinkedIn profile, et cetera. And so there's those three different methods of publishing, and they each have a place. For many people in the business world, the hybrid model is really attractive because they get top-notch services. They get a top-notch product that holds its own with any traditional book, but they own the intellectual property and they have control of how it's used instead of trying to move forward with the book with handcuffs on. And so that's why we do hybrid.
Yeah, and I think that point about the intellectual property is such a key one, especially because we are speaking to a business audience here, where, like, as I listen to you describing the three avenues, it's like having that book as a business asset wouldn't make sense for you to go with a traditional publisher because it becomes their asset, not yours.
Yeah, it does. And like when you're published the way we do, you may be able to get author copies of your book for like $3. That same book, if you were doing traditionally published, would probably be $9 or $10.
Right.
For author copies. And when the book sells in traditional, you're lucky to get $1. And in this model, you may get 8 or 9. So there are lots of different incentives in there. And then just the freedom to get those author copies and do what you want with them. Put one on every seat when you're speaking or bundle it into a speaking gig to increase the speaking fee and your reach at the same time. So many great things that can be done with that when you have that kind of freedom and control.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see why self-publishing would be attractive to some people as well. But even, I mean, having started my own podcast, and I'm still at the point where I'm doing all of the work myself, and looking forward to a time when I can offload some work to someone else. It seems like
Julianna,
the hybrid.
I want to interrupt you for just a second so that your listeners understand what you've accomplished, because a lot of people listen and they don't understand the work that's involved. But as I understand it, you're knocking on the door of 70 episodes right now, and maybe more that I don't know about. But 70 episodes is a huge accomplishment. And you're getting thousands of downloads and you've got thousands of followers. And that does not happen without hard work. And so I just want, before you finish your thought, I want to congratulate you and hold you up, because you're really a great interviewer and clearly someone super friendly and kind, and that comes across in what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I mean, it might not come as too much of a surprise to anyone who's been listening to the podcast or has now discovered that I wanted to become an author, but being a journalist was also something that I was toying with when I was younger. So this is almost just me coming full circle with that.
I love that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, but to your point, yes, it's definitely a lot of work. It's been very worthwhile for me, but similar to publishing a book, the learning curve is a lot, or at least I imagine like having to learn all the ins and outs of putting your own book out there and beyond that, just the marketing of it to get it as a number one bestseller is not an easy feat. And unlike a podcast, you can't just record a couple every couple of weeks and get them out there. That book is um, a dedication of your time, even if it is 2 hours speaking into your phone.
Yeah, if you choose to go that way. And by the way, my first
Hmm.
book that I wrote that way, I describe it as a pretty crappy book, honestly. In the sense that I look back at it now and go, wow, I could have done so much better. But that book, in its imperfect execution, did everything I wanted it to do. It became a number one bestseller. I was sitting there outselling Malcolm Gladwell and John Maxwell and other people in the leadership space, and it brought me my first 5-digit clients, and it did everything it needed to do, even though it was imperfect. Um, and there's a lesson there too, right? That imperfect execution often can have excellent results. And perfect execution never happens. So, you know, but anyway, that was an exciting time, and this is why we love doing what we do. We love helping people get their books out.
Yeah. Oh, so amazing. So today we've talked about the impact a really good book can have on your business and different ways to write it and different ways to publish it as well. As we're wrapping up, Everett, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I just that the worst book is the book that's sitting on a hard drive somewhere,
Hmm.
and or that's left in someone's mind. A lot of people get worried about, am I an expert? Who am I to tell people what to do or how to think? But I know that the analogy I have that comes to mind is, there's like those penguin rookeries in Antarctica where there's like a million penguins and stuff. And somehow the mother and the child hear each other's voices and find each other in that millions of people, millions of penguins. And there are readers out there whose ears are attuned to you as the author. And if you don't say it, they may not hear it. So when people are worried about, who am I to share this message, I would question, maybe, who are you to withhold it? And because if you don't share it, they may not get it. So I really encourage people to get their message out to the world.
Oh, what a beautiful way to wrap up the podcast. So, if people want to connect with you, learn more, or find the power of the published and get a copy for themselves, where can they do that?
Thank you. So if you've just got an idea for a book, or you already have a manuscript in process, or maybe even already have a book on Amazon, we've got ways to help you there too. You can reach out to us at ignitepress.us, ignitepress.us, and there you'll see a link to schedule a consultation directly with me. So that would be one way. Another way to go is if you want to get a free copy of The Power of the Published, which I highly recommend. You can go to mypodcastperk.com. That's PERK, mypodcastperk.com. And you can there's a free download version of the book, as well as a link if you want to get the paperback or the Kindle version on Amazon.
Amazing. And I'll be sure to have all those links in the show notes so people can find you, connect with you, and grab a free copy of the book as well.
Awesome. Hey, Juliana, thank you so much for having me. You do your listeners such a great service.
Well, thank you. It's been a delight to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. And until next time, we will talk to you soon.